Hi, everybody. My name is Sherry, and I am an alcoholic. It took me a really long time to say those words. But once I was able to stand in my truth, I was able to become the leader I was supposed to be. The picture you're looking at behind me is my hopefully last arrest in 2017. I was arrested for a DWI. Did you know 1 in 3 Americans have been convicted of a crime? That's right, so look around. Chances are you're sitting next to somebody who's been convicted of a crime. I'm one of those people. In high school, I tried a drug called meth. I wanted to stay up late, have fun, lose weight, and it did work for a while. Just like a lot of drugs and alcohol, it worked until it didn't. And I became severely addicted and did it every single day for 2 years after the first hit. I do credit entrepreneurship for saving my life. I poured into entrepreneurship, pulled myself up by the bootstraps, and went straight into seeking outside validation and success. The problem is, success also held me back on my recovery because I wasn't focused on what got me addicted in the first place. I was always talking about alcoholism and how it's not for me and how I can drink, but they can't. But I did quit meth, right? So I was running around and growing my business and really seeking outside success, pouring into other people's cups while filling mine up with alcohol. While I was on my ventures and doing my entrepreneurship rounds, I met a mentor and he told me about the prison entrepreneurship program. I was like, are you kidding me? Prison entrepreneurship? This is perfect. As somebody that has recovered from meth and has learned to grow businesses, I can go in and help these guys start their own businesses. So I did that. I went in for a few years and slowly people started adding me as friends on Facebook who I had met in prison. I was like, wow, you're out. This is great. Let's dust off that business plan and get going. Well, they had $50 and a bus ticket, no driver's license, no car. And I thought to myself, well, this isn't a very good foundation for entrepreneurship. So I thought, how can we reverse engineer their ultimate dreams and get them in an entry-level job? And so that's how I met Benny, and that's how Cornbread Hustle began. He had spent 20 years in prison, and we sat down in front of a computer, and I showed him for the very first time how to use Google and how to use the internet. I asked him, what are your passions? What do you love? And he said, Sherry, when I was riding home from prison, I was looking at those murals, those big, beautiful murals. I can do those. Look at my artwork. What kind of company could I work for where I could paint those? I said, well, let's Google Dallas Mural Painting Company. So that's what we did. We picked up the phone and I dialed the number. I said, hey, my name is Sherry. I'm here volunteering for an organization. I have a guy sitting next to me and he has some really good skills. Are you the owner? He said, yes. I said, okay, well, he's willing to come in and work at $10 an hour, the lowest pay that you have. Even if you pay lower than that, he's gonna come in and do a really great job. He just wants to get his foot in the door. And the guy said, okay. And I said, you're probably wondering, is there a catch? Yes, there is. He spent 20 years in prison for a violent charge. But if you agree to interview him, I will come to a public place with you and I will sit with him through the interview. If you don't hire him, no harm, no foul. So we did that. We went to the interview and Benny got the job. As you can see in the pictures behind me, he had all of his new Facebook pictures put up with all of the art that he's done. He found his passion. And fast forward to today, he's making 6 figures doing what he absolutely loves because of that single phone call that we made. And I did that over and over and over for the men in the halfway house. I was like, do you want a job? Do you want a job? What are you good at? What are you good at? And we'd get on Google and just search around. And one morning, I woke up slightly hungover, because remember, I had really good intentions, but I was still drinking. I was helping people, pouring into their cups, but filling mine back up with alcohol. So I had this low bank account. I had this hangover, and I thought, okay, so if I keep helping other people get jobs, I might work myself out of one. So what can I do to help make myself money while serving other people? So I did exactly what I suggested Benny do. I went to Google and I typed in how to start a staffing agency. I went to the WikiHow and step by step by step, I did everything it said. If I didn't know the answer, I would go to a blog and read about it. I would pick up the phone and call other people who own staffing agencies and ask questions. As you can imagine, a lot of staffing agency owners were like, what do you want to do? And you want to charge money for it? Good luck. But I pursued it and I moved forward. As you can see the picture behind me, that is the actual picture of Benny at his job interview at the Starbucks. So I was a really good entrepreneur. I was great at making money and growing a business, but I was a terrible leader. Like I said, I continued to drink. I continued to fill myself up with alcohol, and I just did not represent what second chances really should be. I was seeking so much success and outside validation. It wasn't until that arrest in 2017 that I had to get sober. I had to walk the walk. I got on probation with the people I was serving. I had a breathalyzer in my car, worried about my car being repoed and violating probation, while I couldn't even pay my probation fees. I was there. I was walking the walk. I had to get sober, and it helped me understand my employees better and become a better leader. I stand in front of you today with 3 years clean and sober from all drugs and alcohol. When I was drinking and serving people in prison, I met JoJo, who at the time was also known as inmate number 1834354, and I was still an alcoholic. He was off to a rough start, like a lot of people coming out of prison. He had $50 and a bus pass, and we were able to help him get a $10 an hour job so he could focus on his recovery and get back on the right track to and from work. Success is not linear, just like my journey. There were many ups and downs, and he had behaviors that needed to change. And as I went through my recovery, that's when I realized that the resources I needed to change, I wanted to provide those to the people that I was serving. Cornbread Hustle is innovative as a staffing agency because after learning that, we made sure that all of our recruiters have at least 5 years of being incarcerated or addicted to drugs and or alcohol. So we know it takes community. As you guys can imagine, after I've been standing up here and speaking to you, you know that success won't fix you. A job doesn't fix you. It takes workshops, recovery meetings, spiritual studies, community events, and peer-to-peer mentoring. We also have a 12-week Starting Over series that we provide to all of our hustlers. Yes, we call our employees hustlers. And we have a major focus on mental health. We have a resilience advocate, and we have a professional development coach on staff. So let's go back to JoJo. Within 5 years of joining Cornbread Hustle, we were able to facilitate a $92,000 a year job offer to him. Had I not walked the walk with JoJo and JoJo walked with me, he wouldn't be in a position to be able to accept that type of job, and I wouldn't have been in a position to give it to him. It's been my absolute honor and privilege to grow alongside the employees that I originally was trying to serve, but they began to serve me. So it's important that we find the right fit. It's really vital that we interview every single candidate coming in and ask them about their background. Since we are a staffing agency for second chances, we're able to kind of get into a little bit more details about what happened. For instance, if I were to go get a job right now as a bartender, probably not the right fit for me. So we know that we have a responsibility to understand different triggers and behaviors and place people in an environment where they can thrive. I want you to meet Carlos. We actually hired him from inside prison, and he worked with our recruiters to find his second chance employment.
They know where if you've been, they can relate to you in every single way. They know what it's like to go to jail. They know what it's like to have doors closed on them. Going through Cornbread Hustle, those doors are open because they already know, the situation.
It's also important for us to find the right fit from the employers. So we interview them as well because we know it takes a leader that has empathy. I can speak from experience that I used to be a leader that had zero empathy. I was a get stuff done type of girl, and I hired for all the wrong reasons. So now we make sure we bring in employers that are going to create an environment for our employees to thrive. Meet Philip Ray. He's actually the boss of Carlos, and he is an example of a great leader to our employees. Here's what he has to say.
Carlos is a machine operator working on the line for us, and he's been doing a great job. Dependable, hardworking, picking up extra hours, and been very impressed with the work ethic. And one other thing we've seen is that the willingness to just want to learn and learn the machinery, take on additional responsibilities. That's something that's impressed us with every candidate that's come on board.
I am so proud to say that Carlos has received not one, but 2 promotions, and he now makes double the salary of what he started. And he got hired from Cornbread Hustle just less than 10 months ago. We are so, so, so proud of Carlos. So let's talk about the F-bomb, felony. What do you think when you think of convicted felon? Do you think of somebody who did something really bad to somebody else or committed a really harsh crime? Sometimes it's just somebody that simply made a mistake. If I take this vape pen and fill it up with THC and smoke it in front of you right now, while it wouldn't be too professional, and you'd probably wonder if it was good for my recovery, I wouldn't be arrested. You guys wouldn't call the police. But if I take this same vape pen, go back home to Dallas, and I get in my car and I'm driving through the streets of Texas and I get pulled over, I am a convicted felon. I am now charged with a crime. And on my record, it will show that I have possession of a controlled substance. If I go to look for a job with that on my record, the HR professional will not be able to tell if I was caught with heroin, crack, or a vape pen with weed in it, which is legal in some parts of the country. So while we're talking about convicted felons and nonviolent drug charges, let's talk about the myth of the nonviolent drug offender. A lot of times we'll hear at presidential addresses or different prison reform discussions, we'll hear the term nonviolent drug offender as if it's your safest bet. Well, I have very, very rarely come across people who just have a nonviolent drug charge. You see, a lot of these more harsh crimes are as a result of the drug addiction. So, with the permission of my recruiters, I am going to share with you guys some of their charges. We have learned at Cornbread Hustle over the last 6 years that the most successful candidates have served at least 5 years in prison. We have Desi, who's our super lovable supervisor. She has assault with a deadly weapon and organized theft. Christina, property theft, DWI, drug possession. And Laura with auto theft and drug possession. Then we have Melissa, our ray of sunshine, our sweetest recruiter of all time, who has property theft and drug possession. Had I stuck with just hiring nonviolent drug offenders, I wouldn't have the amazing team that I have now, and we wouldn't have been able to bring Cornbread Hustle to where it's at. So, while there isn't a one-size-fits-all, and I can't tell you the perfect hire, we have noticed something quite interesting. If we have somebody that has a background working at a dry cleaners and also drug dealing, they are type A managers. Now, I might be a little biased because I fall in that category. I used to sell drugs and I worked at a dry cleaners. But if you come across somebody with that background and you don't hire them, send them my way. I will absolutely hire them. In all seriousness, up to 70% of people coming out of prison remain unemployed. We are on a mission to bridge the gap between prison and employment. When people don't have a job, they tend to resort to old behaviors. We are trying to reduce recidivism and keep communities safer. So how do we make a difference? Well, I believe it's because we are all about social entrepreneurship. We don't make money unless we help people make money. We don't put food on our table unless we're putting food on the table of families that need generational change. And I am so proud and happy to share with you guys that in 2021, we were able to hire over 1,000 people. So I'll leave you with one question. Are you willing to overcome your own fears to possibly witness somebody transform personally and professionally? Are you willing to overcome your own fears to see generational change in families? And are you willing to overcome your own fears to possibly witness a miracle just like we do every single day at Cornbread Hustle? Thank you.